The Anaheim Planning Commission meeting of June 17th, 2024. My name is Lucille Kring, and I'm the chair of this commission. As a reminder, the Planning Commission meetings are now broadcast on all of our channels, including the web and Anaheim TV Channel 3. First order of business is to salute our flag, and Commissioner Acosta will please lead us. Oh, I'm sorry, Castro.
Please stand and place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, Heather, would you please do the roll call?
Commissioner Kelly.
Here.
Commissioner Castro.
Here.
Commissioner Walker. Commissioner Perez.
Here.
Commissioner Lieberman.
Here.
Commissioner Tran Martin.
Here.
Chairperson Kring.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Today we have 2 public hearings on our agenda, and we ask everyone who is going to speak on these items to please complete a yellow speaker card. You can get them in the back. When you fill out the card, please identify which item you are speaking on and pick the appropriate checkbox, either applicant, in favor, in opposition, or neither. In accordance with Planning Commission procedures and rules of order, speakers will be called forward in this order and then in the order received for each designation. Please keep your remarks as brief as you can. We are more influenced by the content rather than the length of your presentation. But before we start this public hearing, we provide an opportunity for any member of the public who would like to speak to the commission regarding a subject not on tonight's agenda. This is called the public comment section, and this is anything that the Planning Commission has purview over, but again, is not on the agenda. Is there anyone here who would like to raise an issue and come up to speak? Please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, we will move to the public hearing. Prior to the public hearing, I will ask the planning commissioners for any disclosures they wish to make. Commissioner Tran Martin.
Thank you. I spoke to some of the supporters for agenda item number 1.
Commissioner Perez.
Yeah, I've had a communication and I've been to the site multiple times.
Okay. And at the State of the City luncheon last week, I spoke with one of the proponents. Okay. So with that,
I also had communication regarding the item number 1.
okay.
With fire.
Thank you. All right, I will now begin the public hearings and ask for staff to present number 1. And that's the planner, Jose Barrega.
Yes, hello, good evening, Chair. My name is Jose Barriga, and tonight I will be presenting item number 1 this evening for the Gypsum Canyon Cemetery project. This item is a request of a tentative parcel map and a conditional use permit to construct and operate a cemetery use. The request also includes amendments to the general plan, land use element, mountain park specific plan, and the zoning code. The subject property is located within the mountain park specific plan that covers approximately a 3,000 acre area in Gypsum Canyon. It was originally approved in 1991 and amended in 2005 to permit a maximum of 2,500 residential units, associated infrastructure, and amenities. The specific plan was divided into 11 different development areas that were intended for residential, institutional, and open space land uses. In 2010, the city of Anaheim and the property owner at the time entered into a development agreement for a 20-year vested right to develop the property. In 2014, The property owner then conveyed the property planned for residential units to the County of Orange to expand the county regional park systems for conservation and recreation purposes. Specifically, specific plan development areas 1 through 4 and development area 7 were part of the donation and encumbered with a conservation easement to be held by the Orange County Parks Foundation. Development area 5 was donated without use restrictions and was not located within the conservation easement area. In 2019, development area 5 was deeded to the Orange County Cemetery District. Development area 5, outlined in green on the screen, is an approximately 283-acre property located southeast of the 91 freeway and the Gibson Canyon Road interchange at the end of Santa Ana Canyon Road. The property is vacant and undeveloped. The site previously operated as a sand and gravel mining operation that ceased operation in 2004. The project site is designated for low-medium residential land uses in the general plan. The property is surrounded by open space and the 91 freeway to the north. The applicant requests to subdivide the property into 2 parcels for a cemetery use. This request includes an update to the general plan land use table to allow some cemeteries in development area 5, amending the Mountain Park specific plan to include cemeteries as a permitted use in that same area, and a zoning code change to allow cemeteries with a conditional use permit within development area 5. The proposed project would not rezone the subject parcel and would not eliminate the Mountain Park specific plan. The applicant proposes 2 parcels for a cemetery use in collaboration with the Orange County Cemetery District and the California Department of Veteran Affairs. The first parcel, approximately 126 acres in size, would be owned and operated by the Orange County Cemetery District as a public cemetery. Within the lower portion of this parcel, approximately 80 acres would be developed for up to 50 acres of interment areas. The second parcel, approximately 157 acres in size, would be designated as a veterans cemetery. The applicant and the California Department of Veteran Affairs would collaborate on this parcel. The approximate 100-acre pad within the upper portion of parcel 2 would serve as interment areas. Proposed improvements to both parcels include utility infrastructure, bridge crossings, roadways for vehicular circulation, administrative buildings, a maintenance facility, committal structures, and landscaping. The development approach involves initial grading to establish the upper and lower parcels, followed by incremental development in 10 to 20 acres segments based on demand. The public cemetery would operate daily for visitations from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and the administrative offices would remain open only during the week. The services provided would include the preparation for the burial or interment of caskets or urns, with no wake or cremation services provided on site. The number of burial services would not exceed 4 services per day, staggered to overlap with other scheduled services, and would occur Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Burial services on Saturdays and Sundays or certain holidays would require advance approval of this cemetery manager. If services are held on Saturdays, they would be limited to more than 3, and burial services on Sundays would be avoided unless determined essential. No burial services will be conducted on certain holidays that include New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day, which is specific to the public cemetery. The Veterans Cemetery would operate similarly to the public cemetery and would be open daily from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Services include the care of burial and interment services. The number of services would not exceed 4 services per day and would also be staggered. Activities may be held during certain holidays such as Memorial Day and Veterans Day. The proposed use has been designed to complement the surrounding properties, maintaining a low-intensity land use. Adequate property and utility infrastructure would accommodate the incremental development of the interment areas. On-site operations would include administrative services, maintenance services, on-site interment services, and vehicle access and circulation. A vehicles miles traveled analysis and traffic impact analysis demonstrate that the proposed project would result in less traffic than currently allowed uses, indicating that the current and planned roadway infrastructure would accommodate the proposed project, and we'll be discussing further detail in the remainder of the presentation. The applicant requests an amendment to table LU4 of the general plan land use element. Specifically, they request that the residential development areas outlined in the Mountain Park specific plan, while still in effect, have been encumbered since 2014 by the conservation easement and other restrictions. These restrictions align with the Orange County Service Area 26, which include provisions for a cemetery use. This arrangement follows the property transfer to the County of Orange and subsequently to the Orange County Cemetery District for development area number 5. The existing Mountain Park specific plan would remain consistent with the goals and policies of the general plan and with the purpose, standards, and land use guidelines as amended. The proposed specific plan amendments would include a minor text change to permit a cemetery land use through a conditional use permit within development area 5 and to remove a 3,000 square foot convenience store from development area 6. Allowing a cemetery in development area 5 would result in a development of desirable character compatible with the surrounding open space areas. The cemetery's design would respect the aesthetics and tranquility of the area, ensuring it would be compatible with the surrounding land uses. The proposed amendments would conditionally permit a cemetery use within development area 5, which would contribute to the balance of land uses by providing a necessary and valuable service that complements the open space in the area. The traffic analysis for the proposed project examined multiple scenarios for intersections and roadway segments identified on the screen. The analysis reviewed intersection and roadway level of service at AM and peak times for multiple scenarios. In addition, trip generation analysis were prepared for the public and veteran cemetery areas. The traffic and trip generation analysis compared the Mountain Park specific plan to approved land uses to that of the proposed cemetery at existing condition, opening year, and build out. It was determined that in comparison to the approved Mountain Park specific plan land uses, the proposed project had a lower trip generation and would maintain satisfactory level of service. The studies did identify modifications to the intersection of Gypsum Canyon Road and Santa Ana Canyon Road to address through traffic. A parking demand analysis was prepared for the project, and the analysis utilized parking data from 3 different cemeteries, including the El Toro Memorial Park, Santa Ana Cemetery, and the Riverside National Cemetery, to assist in determining parking demand for the proposed cemetery. The public cemetery would provide approximately 405 parking spaces within the dedicated parking areas and internal roadways. The Veteran Cemetery would provide between 359 to 404 parking spaces within their respective dedicated areas. Based on the surveyed cemeteries, a parking requirement was derived and applied to the proposed sites. On a typical weekday, the proposed project is anticipated to generate a demand of 141 spaces at the public cemetery and 120 spaces at the Veterans Cemetery. On a typical Saturday, the proposed project would generate 246 spaces at the public cemetery and a few additional spaces at the veteran site. During these typical periods, parking supply far exceeds the parking demand. Based on a survey taken on Veterans Day at the Riverside National Cemetery, holiday parking demand at the Veterans Cemetery is anticipated to be 296 parking spaces. The number of parking spaces proposed would accommodate the parking demand. The applicant and the development team have conducted various engagements with the public. The project was presented to members of Congress, County of Orange supervisors, mayors, and city officials. Presentations were also made at District 6 community meetings in June of 2022 and June of 2023. The project was presented to the Anaheim Senior Citizens Advisory Council in June of 2023 as well. The applicant and their development team have also met with the City of Yorba Linda staff to discuss project status and community concerns. City staff has maintained a webpage on the city's website dedicated specifically to the cemetery project, and we have periodically sent updates throughout the course of the processing of the application. An addendum to the previously certified Mountain Park Specific Plan, EIR number 331, which included Mitigation Monitoring Plan number 137, has been prepared pursuant to the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act to determine whether any significant environmental impacts, which were not identified in the previously approved EIR, would result, or whether previously identified significant impacts would be substantially more severe. The addendum evaluated potential impacts associated with the change in land use from the previously approved residential units in Development Area 5 to the proposed cemetery use. As more thoroughly described in the addendum, a subsequent or supplemental EIR were not required. The proposed project would not result in significant new or more severe impacts, nor would there be a need for additional mitigation measures. The proposed project would have lesser air quality and noise impacts than the improved project. Original applicable mitigation measures from Mitigation Monitoring Plan number 137 have been incorporated relating to geology and soils, biological resources, traffic and circulation, air quality, hazards and hazardous materials, public services and utilities, and cultural resources. Mitigation Monitoring Plan number 389 has been created to incorporate applicable mitigation measures, project design features, and standard conditions. Staff has carefully reviewed the proposed project and determined that it meets the necessary requirements and standards for approval. The project has been thoughtfully designed to ensure compatibility with the surrounding land uses, provide adequate on-site operations, and mitigate potential impacts. With the implementation of the proposed amendments and conditions, the project will enhance the community by providing a needed public and veteran cemetery while preserving the area's open space character. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this request. Since the posting of the agenda, staff has received additional public comment for this request that have been distributed to the commission prior to the public hearing. This concludes staff's presentation. The applicant and city staff are present this evening to address any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have questions for Commissioner Lieberman?
Thank you for that report. I do have some questions because I'm a little unclear on some things. All right, the Mountain Park Specific Plan was formulated in 1991. Was it in 2005 that it was split up into 11 different segments, or was that done at the onset?
That was in the onset in 1991.
Okay. But it was in 2005 when it was decided to add the, what do I have down here, 2,500 dwelling units, residential units to the area.
So that was an amendment in 2005. The original approval actually allotted for a much higher density.
Okay.
So when the project was, when it went through that amendment process, it reduced the unit count.
Okay, so at either point in 91 or 2005, was it determined what's going to go where? What type of development is going to go on what segment on each development area?
That is correct, yeah. Each development area was designated, whether it be for residential purposes, institutional uses, or open space.
Okay, and so this is Development Area 5. So specifically, what was planned back from day one for Development Area 5?
A Development Area 5 was allotted for approximately a little over 1,500 residential units.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, that helps me a lot. Can you touched upon some traffic changes to improve through traffic at Gypsum Canyon and another road. Can you expand on that and explain it a little better? Tell me what the plan changes are, please.
How you doing? My name is Corey Wilkerson. I'm a principal transportation planner in public works traffic. So the modifications that'll be added as a part of this project are just some minor striping and signage at that intersection. The ultimate build-out of that intersection does include some widening. However, that is not, those improvements are not being triggered by this project, as the warrants for that signal are not currently being met. So we would have to just continue to monitor it over time, and then at some point when the traffic signal and those further improvements are warranted, then the city would apply their traffic impact fees that have been collected as part of this project, as well as other projects within the city, would use that to build out that signal. So most of the improvements will not be made as part of this project, but there are some minor striping and signage improvements, including larger stop signs, some additional striping to make people aware of the change at that intersection, because there will be, right now it kind of functions as like a right, it's a left turn movement that, while there is a stop sign there, we don't always see a lot of people stopping at that stop sign. So the additional signage and striping that is mostly there to make people aware of the changes that have happened at there, so that make them aware that there will be traffic coming from the south coming north on the right-hand side.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll bring up the applicant.
General Manager, Orange County Cemetery District. Our mission is to provide affordable interments to residents and taxpayers in the County of Orange. We currently operate 3 public cemeteries in the cities of Anaheim, Santa Ana, and Lake Forest. We're providing about 2,000 sales and services to county residents annually. Unfortunately, the one cemetery, El Toro Memorial Park, has very minimal, about 650 interment spaces, casket spaces remaining for sale. Currently, we're only allowing those who have an immediate need to purchase, so no one can be pre-plan and be prepared for those in the future. We estimate that current inventory will last us through 2026, about when we're looking at the project. Over the past 15 to 20 years, my predecessor and myself were searching for land all throughout Orange County. We went to all aspects, all cities, sent letters out to city managers asking for any open space, and any open space that's in cities is mainly used for parks and other open space services. Unfortunately, cemeteries are not one that's considered amongst cities. We searched several sites, did some studies on them, and not one site came to be where we selected. It wasn't until in 2018 that the County Board of Supervisors took action, and then we finally secured it in 2019 for the donated land of 283 acres here in Anaheim at the Gypsum Canyon location that we're talking about. Over the past several years, our development team, and several of them are here to answer any questions, specific questions if need be, worked in collaboration with the County of Orange and Calvet, and provided all the documents necessary that were required by the Planning Department, Public Works Department, and all the peer reviewers that provided oversight on what was provided to each of the respective departments. We've been working collectively with the Planning Department, again, answering any questions that may come up as necessary in preparation for tonight's meeting. As Jose mentioned, we hosted several community outreach events, meetings in District 6. We had events on the site that had several of our dignitaries in the County of Orange that are all in support of the project. We recently launched a new project website. It's gypsumcanyon.occemeterydistrict.com. It's going to be providing updates on the project to interested community members, families that have an interest in purchasing for the future, so that they can see the progress that we're making with the site. The project, as Jose mentioned, will happen over multiple phases. We're not grading 100 acres or 80 acres of cemetery development. That's not how cemeteries function. We do some remedial grading, and then as the need arises for various sections, that's when we come back and do final grading. So this will be probably a 60 to 70-year project before we get to full development. Before you tonight is a very detailed report provided by staff that outlines a lot of decisions that need to be made tonight, decisions that will help us. As you know, we've been operating the Anaheim Cemetery for over 158 years here in your fine city. The decisions that you make tonight are going to allow us to continue to provide this good community service to the residents and taxpayers of Orange County for the next 80 to 100 years. We have created a virtual simulation that kind of will, it's basically an overview, a flyover of what the cemetery will look like when it's in its final development. So I'm gonna ask Jose if he could put that up on the screen. And then again, we have staff here, so if you have any technical questions or any technical questions come up, we're happy to answer any of those questions for you. So thank you for your time.
Before you go, let me ask if any of the commissioners have any questions for you.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, Commissioner.
Thank you for the presentation. And I apologize, I'm not in the cemetery business, but a couple questions would be, what's the nearest veterans cemetery if someone wanted that option? Would they have to go up to LA or?
Well, Riverside National, which is out in Riverside County, would be the closest for any Orange County residents. There's one in San Diego. LA, I believe, only has cremation-based only services. We don't function as the cemetery operator, that we would work in collaboration with Calvet on a daily basis and coordination with the project on a regular basis. But they will be controlling, or they have knowledge of all of the aspects of the veteran cemetery.
Great, thank you. I was
You're
just
welcome.
wondering how far away it was. And then the second question is, so there's only so many spaces left in the public cemetery, right? So what would someone do, because it's the affordable cemetery, right? So what would people needing the public cemetery do? Would they go out of the county when you run out of room?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one of the points on our documentation that we provide to the public in our meetings, at some point, if we don't have casket space, now cremation, we have plenty of cremation options at all three cemeteries. But if someone is indeed wanting a casket space, once we have completely sold out in 2026, their options are to pay a much higher cost at a private cemetery, or if they're Catholic, they can go to a Catholic cemetery, or then, go outside of the county. And then there's, those issues of having to, visitation outside of the county, making those decisions. And some cemeteries that, like us, at public cemeteries in Riverside County, don't allow Orange County residents or taxpayers to be buried in their public cemetery as well, as far as affordability-wise.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Perez.
Just, just wondering if you're okay with all the conditions of approval.
We are.
And I have a question that you mentioned the Catholic cemeteries, of which there are several. But in the public part, not the veterans part, do you have places for Catholics, Muslims, Jewish? Do you have any of those areas?
No, we have no dedicated religious sections in our cemetery. It's something that the Health and Safety Code, which we follow, does not allow to have dedicated sections. If there was, say, a Jewish section that was predating public cemetery law in the early 20s, then that's grandfathered in. But when you develop new cemeteries, you cannot place dedicated sections for a particular religion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's look at this.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. That was really interesting. Okay, the public hearing is open. So Heather, do we have any cards? So when she calls your name, if you could call 5 at a time, and if you could line up in the center aisle, we would appreciate that. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Castro.
So Gypsum Canyon is right on the border of Riverside County. So is it only for Orange County residents, or are you allowing?
Yep, public cemetery law restricts it to be only for Orange County residents and taxpayers for the public portion of it. The veteran cemetery is open to any veteran that meets the
Right.
qualifications and eligibility criteria.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Bill Cook, come on up. And then Michael Milles, if you could stand behind him, and then Daniel Jennings. Welcome.
Thank you. Commissioners, I am Bill Cook, resident of Mission Viejo, United States Marine Corps Vietnam veteran, board member of Valor Veterans Alliance for Orange County, chairman of the Orange County Veterans Memorial Park Foundation, member of the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Disabled American Veterans, Vietnam Veterans of America, AMVETS, United Mexican American Veterans Association, and a few others. I'm here to speak, obviously, in favor of the cemetery project in Gypsum Canyon. Most specifically, my interest is in the Veterans Cemetery section. As you know, Orange County has no veterans cemetery. LA has one, San Diego has two, Riverside has one, we have none. I speak for all my brothers and all my veterans organizations and a number of families in favor of the site, which will become the Southern California Veterans Cemetery in Gypsum Canyon. It's a place where I hope to have my own rest in due course. I have read through your staff report. I applaud their work. I applaud their attention to detail, their addressing of the many points that would be in consideration. I think it's a fine piece of work, and I would ask you to go along with their conclusion and move this project forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service, and you are a busy man. Thank you for all you do for our country.
Thank you.
And for our community. God bless.
Thank you.
Michael, welcome.
Thank you for having us today. My abbreviated resume is I am an Army veteran. I have served in combat. I worked for 20 years in federal government, retired from the Department of Veterans Affairs as a medical practitioner. I also have been a resident of Orange County for greater than 20 years. Since the 1990s, we have seen a variety of ebbs and flows in propositions to support veterans internment services. To your question, Ms. Kelly, it takes about 110 minutes from the Imperial Highway exit on the 91 to pull up to the door of Riverside National Cemetery. And that is if the ugly monster that is the State Route 91 does not rear its terrible head. It is something that would be daunting for many family members to do. The trip is 91 to Van Buren and south on Van Buren and directly down a very long 4-lane road through city areas to get there. You on this committee have a generational opportunity to do something that's tangible, that doesn't require an enormous amount of money to serve the veterans who have fought and in some cases died for your right to be here and my right to be here to speak for you. It is something that many of us had thought we would never see in our lifetimes because of all the starts and failures. It is something that, in reading your report, has been learnedly studied. I appreciated your presentation. It was very informative to me. I thank you for your time and your effort. And I've read the publicly available information from your Planning Commission as well. And I applaud you for your attention to detail. It goes without question that I support this measure. I believe that it is a true and just thing to do. I believe that it would be something that would be a calling card for many people in the years to come when it does come to fruition. And although it's a minor, almost seeming meaningless point of order, in looking at how this is laid out, 283 acres of well-manicured, landscaped, and maintained area provides a very substantial protection to the south side of the 91 in case of the wildfires that we worry about and are causing many of us to lose our ability to insure our homes. It is not a reason to do this project, but it is a very desirable side effect of it, should it be approved.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you for your service to America. And I see they call you Doc as your nickname, and God bless you and your family.
Thank you.
Okay, Daniel Jennings.
Hello. I am an Anaheim resident. I am a member of Anaheim Post 3173, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 72, American Legion. As I am the district commander and the senior vice commander for Post 3173. And I am here to let you know that the Orange County veterans support this project. They want this project. And that Anaheim veterans want this project. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate the work on the staff for accomplishing that very detailed the layout, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for your service and your work with the vets now. And God bless. Welcome, Michael.
Michelle.
I'm sorry.
Good evening.
I can't seem.
My name is Michelle Dela Cruz. I'm the commander of the American Legion Irvine Post. I'm also the conductor for an organization called the 40 and 8. It's a veterans organization, as well as an American Legion rider with 132. Thank you very much for all of your efforts and the warm reception that Anaheim has given us compared to the last 12 years that I've witnessed in the city of Irvine. And with the rather disgusting opposition, the lies that have been being presented by the opposition, and I found out that my 1 minute testimony is being used by the opposition regarding the riders that would be blocking traffic for the numerous processions that would be going through. That was a misrepresentation that they made. What that was in response to was there would be more riders would come out if there was opposition and protests that would be disturbing the family members who just want to lay their loved ones to rest. And I feel like that's something that we would be able to accomplish here in Anaheim, and there wouldn't be the call for the veterans to have the large number of motorcycles to protect the families from the protesters. So thank you very much for your reception. Thank you for all of the work that you've put into this. I know from years of watching this go on in Irvine, what goes into it, and I think that it would be a beautiful location. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your service, and sorry you had to go through that unpleasantness. Gabby Noriega, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Gabby Noriega. I am the Executive Director for the Anaheim Police Association. So on behalf of the association, I'd like to express our full support for this proposed Gypsum Canyon Cemetery here in Anaheim, which is going to be dedicated to honoring veterans, allied veterans, and first responders. We consider it a privilege to endorse the establishment of the cemetery, which will serve as a dignified tribute to our community's heroes. This project will not only ensure minimal environmental impact and enhance the area's aesthetics, but it's also going to promise long-term benefits to Anaheim residents and Orange County taxpayers. The first responder section of the cemetery will be the first of its kind. As a representative of the Anaheim Police Association, the prospect of a dedicated resting place for public safety personnel fills us with pride. We strongly urge the Commission to support this commendable initiative. Let us unite in honoring and remembering our heroes while enriching our community. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and so many of our police are former vets. So are you a former vet, or once you're a vet, you're always a vet? You would know, Nick. You're always a vet, right?
Always.
Always, especially those Marines.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello, my name is
Welcome.
Nick Berardino. I am the president of the Veterans Alliance of Orange County, which proudly represents 157 veteran organizations. And I can say, on behalf of 157 veteran organizations in this county, we strongly support this marvelous project. In fact, so you know, this will be the first project of this kind in the entire world. #1 in the world. So you have Disneyland, you have the Ducks, you have baseball, and now you will have an enclave of patriotism and appreciation for the first responders that will be the first in the world. I think this is going to be your best venue. But we thank you so much for all the work. We've spent 10 years getting bounced around, being used in all kinds of political battles, which were still in another city, which just, it was terrible. It was like, you know, PTSD. We came home from Vietnam and people booed us and hissed us. And that, believe me, you can pull the videos. In the evening of our lives as Vietnam veterans, we would go to those meetings and get booed and hissed, just like when we came home from the war. It was unbelievable how we were treated. But we were treated so well here. I remember somebody, the mayor's father, Wiley Aiken, who saw me after one of those getting beat up in Irvine and said, "We'll take you in our home. We'll take you in our home, and we'll be proud to have you here." I'm also the first responder cemetery. I want to apologize for the firefighters who were scheduled to be here. They wanted me to tell you they are confined to station because of all the fires. And one of them said, it's kind of ironic. Here we are confined to station because of all the fires. There'll probably be people speaking against us when we're staying here to save them in case there's any wildfires, but they'll come there and talk against us. And I said, you know, we Vietnam vets are used to it, and we're in the evening of our lives, and we have lost so many. But to have the firefighters there and the police officers there and the veterans there, and then what shows more than an open community in Anaheim when our allies who weren't even citizens stood up and fought for us, and they will be honored there. And I'll tell you that people love the flag that's there. Man, that flag is ever down because of storm. My phone doesn't stop ringing. I mean, I just tell everybody it's going back up. And I call him, and he's going, "Oh, God, Nick, don't call me another." I don't care, Tim. Get a ladder and get it up there. But I have to tell you, this is so meaningful. It's so tragic that people would speak against something like this. But, you know, we're used to it. We're used to it. But we won't die without getting this through. And I thank all of you so much. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America. Thank you.
Well, God bless you, and I have chills. I'm sure everybody in this room does from what you said. And we're sorry for the way you were treated when you came back from Vietnam. It was a scourge on our country. So that's a personal observation. So, Mr. Bartlett.
Hi. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Paul Bartlett. I am a retired police officer. Did 17 years in the city of West Covina and then I finished with 15 years. I lateraled to the Orange County District Attorney's Office Bureau of Investigation. After my retirement, I now work for the Association of Orange County Deputy Sheriffs. I'm the executive director for the association. We represent nearly 3,000 peace officers for the County of Orange, and we also have about 1,700 retired peace officers. We strongly ask that you support this measure or this item. You know, serving in law enforcement, unfortunately, we've had to, we have our share of funerals that we haven't. It would be nice to have a respectable place for our people to be able to be buried. In addition to that, a majority of my members are also veterans. A lot of our veterans become peace officers. And so we also have our partners, our brothers and sisters, as Nick said, that couldn't make it today with the fire service. They deserve a nice place for a burial, as unfortunately we lose our firefighters as well. So, and also we need a new and a nicer place for our public to have for their funerals. And so we strongly support it. And we really appreciate you guys taking this item in the city of Anaheim for stepping up. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bartlett, for your service, too. And Nick, I forgot to mention, we have gotten emails from the fire department and the firefighters. Go for the cemetery. So they're here. Welcome, Harvey.
Thank you. Chair and Planning Commissioners, I'm Harvey Liss, a longtime resident of Irvine and Executive Director of Build the Great Park Veteran Cemetery. And that location is on the 125-acre so-called Artis site in Great Park in Irvine, where the veteran cemetery was first designated by the Irvine City Council in 2014. I'm speaking on behalf of my organization. We object to the OCCD's submittal of an amendment to a 2005 EIR, regardless how extensive the amendment is regarding building a cemetery at Gypsum Canyon, instead of submitting a new EIR as violating the requirements, spirit, and intention of the CEQA as follows. The residential development proposed in 2005 has nothing to do with the currently proposed project, cemeteries. The current environmental conditions are very different, and substantial geotechnical issues were discovered since 2005 that were unrecognized in 2005. So it appears that the sole reason submittal of a new EIR is being avoided is that a new EIR would require a public review and comment period, something the forces pushing this project do not want, while an amendment, regardless how extensive, does not. Hence, our organization objects to submittal of an amendment rather than a new EIR for the cemetery project as violating the CEQA, and we will take further actions as necessary to ensure that the CEQA is observed. Now, to further indicate the status of the State Veteran Cemetery, you're probably aware of the recent Calvet report that estimated the price to build the State Veteran Cemetery at Gypsum Canyon at $126 million. That Calvet report provoked the city of Irvine to commission an independent report by Geosyntec that I emailed all of you earlier this afternoon that compared building the Veteran Cemetery at Gypsum Canyon with building it in Irvine, where it would be centrally located in Orange County rather than 2 miles from the Riverside County border. The Geosyntec report concludes that it would cost at least $100 million more to build on Gypsum Canyon than in Irvine, and it would take 10 years compared to 3 to 4 years in Irvine. Comparatively, the Geosyntec report estimates the cost to build a state veteran cemetery in Irvine on the Artis site that was rezoned in 2020 by a citizens' initiative that I led exclusively for the state veteran cemetery is $45 million. Our conclusion is that there will never be a state veteran cemetery at Gypsum Canyon. And regarding the Irvine site, the state budget still includes $25 million for veteran cemetery construction plus $10 million on the federal veteran cemetery grants priority list. And the remaining $10 million needed is being whittled away as construction proceeds on Irvine's Veteran Memorial Park in the Great Park. So all it takes to begin negotiation with the state to transfer the property is a majority vote of the Irvine City Council.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, and then Olivia Marsh.
Good evening. My name is Olivia Marsh, and I am a resident of Anaheim Hills. I've lived in the home for 25 years, and I've been in Anaheim Hills about 27 years. My husband and I are here as just residents. We are neutral, but we're a little concerned, at least the transportation report. I know our second speaker was talking about how long it takes to get from here to Riverside Cemetery, but I travel that area at all hours of the day because my work is flexible, and there is traffic there at all times. I know the transportation report came out and said that there's a left-hand turn at the end of Santa Ana Canyon into Gibson. It goes right into the freeway or over Gibson Canyon to Yorba Linda. There is a stop sign, and people do stop because there is a stop sign, and that creates a huge buildup. And I'm just curious as to this play it by ear as needs are coming. I think there should be more investigation on the traffic situation. It is so bad in that area. And now you're talking about another project that's for another day. But you're talking about the Weir Canyon, the Serrano Canyon area. People are coming in from the Orange. It is a buildup of cars beyond, starting at 2 in the afternoon, sometimes at noon. If there was a fire, God forbid, I've been in many fires and we've been evacuated 3 or 4 times, I don't remember, we can't even get out. It's concerning, and that's my main concern. Cost is another thing, but I don't care about that at this point because I think it's very important to have a veterans cemetery. I'm pro-veteran, pro-police officer, but there's issues that haven't been completely addressed, in my opinion, as a resident, and I know I'm not the only resident in our area. We're really concerned about the traffic, but that little area, Santa Ana Canyon, stops at Gibson Canyon, and God forbid there's another fire, because I know the last fire, luckily we were out of town, but there was cars left. People abandoned their cars on Weir Canyon and up where we live, because it couldn't get out fast enough. And then I guess there's another concern, but I'm not really sure because I'm not an insurance underwriter. We have a lot of problems getting insurance. Cost of insurance, because we back up to that canyon and we've had several fires, is very difficult. And plus the cost of insurance has gone up tremendously if you can get it. Now, is that going to give our underwriters, State Farm, Allstate, everybody who's left writing policies or renewing policies, is that going to give them another reason to want to cancel our policies? Is this a time to be building anything in that area? Just because the fact that we can't even get insurance. There's just a lot of people who are having problems. We can't even, people who want to sell their homes are not selling them as quickly because of the insurance situation. So anyway, like I said, I'm neutral. I think issues have to be addressed in the transportation, and I hope you can look at that. And I didn't know anything about that EIR. I didn't know that the amended EIR, I don't know how, I'm not technical, we came here to listen, but I think there's a lot of residents like us.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh. Staff what about the transportation? Can you address that, please?
Sure. So the traffic analysis does acknowledge that the current operations within the area and does acknowledge that the intersection at Santa Ana Canyon and at Gypsum Canyon does currently operate at a level of service F. There is traffic there. We acknowledge that there is traffic there, and the traffic analysis does acknowledge that. What the traffic analysis also does is it analyzes what the project is going to add within that location, and our city's adopted guidelines have thresholds for how much traffic can be added before an impact is triggered. And so the analysis did take that into account. It analyzed the new trips that will be associated with this project, and it determined that the additional traffic will be so negligible that it doesn't exceed the thresholds that have been adopted by. So that's why there was no further improvements that were identified as part of the project or mitigations that were identified as part of the environmental document.
Thank you very much. I hope that helps, Ms. Marsh. Okay, do we have any questions? Commissioner Lieberman.
Yeah, I'd like to just, you said that intersection's currently operating at level F.
Correct.
And what is the city's threshold that says, where do we come into play that says F is as bad as it gets? Is there a worse level?
No, level of service F is, it recognizes that there's a, that certain times of day there's a breakdown in the traffic in that area, and I think anybody that lives in that area is fully aware of that.
Okay, and at what point does the city say, we need to improve on level F? When does it get fixed? It's already bad.
The primary cause of the level of service at that intersection is not the intersection itself, but actually its overflow from the 91 freeway. So people that are driving on the 91 freeway, they make the decision at some point that they're going to get off the freeway and they're going to take Santa Ana Canyon to Gypsum Canyon Road to get on the freeway and get back again.
I understand that.
Everybody does that, right? So that's what's causing the traffic within the area. It's not the operations of the intersection itself, but rather the operations of the freeway that's adjacent to it.
Oh,
So the city monitors the level of service at intersections, and at some point once a project is deemed as being warranted, it's already been identified in the general plan that a signal should be placed there, but it has to meet the warrants in order for us to be able to do that. So the city is always ongoing monitoring as part of our general plan to when a particular location meets those warrants, and then it identifies funding in order to implement those improvements. So the city does currently do that. We're continuing to do that, and we are monitoring that location to determine that. And putting a signal there is not necessarily going to immediately improve it from a level of service F to something else. The traffic is there. It's still continuing to be there. The reality is that the only way that the traffic is going to improve at that location is when traffic on the 91 improves, which is not something that the city necessarily has jurisdiction over, but we do work with our state agencies in order to make improvements and on that roadway as well.
And does the city never take the stance that traffic on the 91 is never going to improve? Because I think we'd all be lying to ourselves if we said that the answer was yes. It's always going to be bad. You're always going to have cars getting off to avoid the little crunch at that particular location. It's not going to improve. The 91 freeway gets worked on and worked on and worked on to improve traffic flow, and people learn the new traffic flow and jam it all up all over again. So we're at level F. It needs to be, something better. And I would gladly spearhead a campaign to get it to be better.
Sure. Yeah, the question before you tonight, though, is whether or not this project is going to make that level of service F worse than a level of service F. And so that's kind of
that's kind of an offensive comment. Okay. However, I will state that my question having to do with what was permitted on this parcel beforehand, which is 1,500 homes, compared to this use, 1,500 homes, the traffic is going to be a huge impact on that intersection compared to this use. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, but level F doesn't work for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Perez.
Are we still in the public hearing, or we've closed that?
No, we're still here, still in public.
Okay,
hearing.
got it. Then I don't have a question for the staff right now.
Commissioner Kelly.
Oh, I had another traffic question, if you wouldn't mind. So my understanding, well, since I live in the area, it's the eastbound 91 gets, very busy. I don't know, you pick a number starting at 2 p.m. or late afternoon as people commute that direction. But the cemetery, I think I heard the burials were going to end at 1:30. So did that go into probably some of your analysis? Okay.
Yeah, the operations that are identified as part of the project correlated with the goal of ensuring that services do not operate during the worst peak of the day, which is that PM peak period, the 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. time period. So the operations are intended to operate up until 1:30 per the staff report, and then so that any traffic that is generated that comes through after that is just people visiting. It's not large services or anything like that.
Any other questions? Okay, then I will close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve the project.
Second.
Okay. Nobody has any questions. This is great. Okay, we have a motion to approve, and we have a second.
Can I just make a quick comment
Yes,
here?
Commissioner Lieberman.
I would just like to thank everyone who came out to speak today. Especially our veterans. Some of you came quite a distance, from South County. I think that's far away, okay? Well, to our humble little Anaheim meeting, and I just want to thank you. And personally, I think it would be a great honor to have a veteran cemetery in this city. I myself ran a military vehicle processing center for 15 years, so worked very closely with military service members during that time. And it's something that's important. I've been to Arlington, I've been to Normandy. You
Wow.
go to these places because they're important.
Absolutely.
And thank you for your service, all of you, and I wholeheartedly support this.
And I'll just make a final comment. As I mentioned to the speakers, thank you so much for your service. And I am so happy, as a resident of Anaheim for a long time, that you were finding Anaheim welcoming. And we are a welcoming city. And so that does my heart a lot of good to hear that. I'm not saying anything about another city because whatever, you said enough. And so I think this is going to be world class. Some of you gave me goosebumps I'm sure you could all write a book about your trials and tribulations during war, during service, and even now, all the things that you're facing, because we need to take care of our vets. And as I mentioned, I am so sorry that we had that black stain on America, the way we did treat our Vietnam vets. That is just unbelievable what happened. But people coming back from the wars now and service, thank God they are being treated with respect, with honor, with love, and that's the way our vets should be treated. So we're just doing, yes. And as planning commissioners, we're just doing a little tiny piece to make this project happen. So let's vote.
Motion carries with 6 yes votes.
God bless. Now you can pop the champagne. Thank you. Okay, item number 2, and we have Nicholas Barrera. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Chair King and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Nicholas Barrera, Associate Planner, and I'll be presenting item number 2 this evening. I am joined by Lieutenant Sissel and Veronica Imami of the Police Department's Vice Detail. This item is a city-initiated amendment to the city's zoning code modifying section 18.54.035.070 pertaining to sex-oriented business and employee identification cards. There are currently 7 licensed sex-oriented businesses located in the city of Anaheim. The map above shows you the current location of these businesses throughout the city. Entertainers, managers, and acting managers at these locations are required to have a sex-oriented business employee identification card. The police department processes and investigates the identification card applications, which currently remain valid for 3 years. The police department is proposing to change the duration of these identification cards from 3 years to 1 year. The current 3-year validity is impractical due to high turnover rates within these establishments, reducing the duration of these identification cards to 1 year to ensure more accurate records, enhancing law enforcement's ability to monitor and prevent illegal activities in sex-oriented businesses. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend the City Council approve the amendment to Title 18.54, Sex-Oriented Business, and modifying Section 18.54.035.070. This concludes staff's presentation. We are available to address any questions from the Commission.
Okay. Nobody has any questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have any speaker cards? But we do have the police officer coming up. Did you want to say anything? No. Okay, you're dismissed. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, which I never opened in the first place, and ask the commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I'll move the item.
Second.
Okay. All right, let's vote.
Motion carries with 6 yes votes.
Nicholas, you're terrific.
I think that's the fastest item, right?
I'm trying to keep my record intact. Well, any updates from my commissioners? No updates. Scott, you're up.
All right, on July 1st, we do have one item. Mr. Barrera here will be presenting to you again. This is for a business school in an existing office building. And on July 15th, we will have a workshop for the Hills Preserve project. That is the project they're located in Deer Canyon off of Santa Ana Canyon Road. So workshop on July 15th. That's what we've got coming up.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. And with that, we are adjourned.